giving me the opportunity to speak to you here today. After all these wonderful presentations, there was one question I could ask myself. Can I show a better one? No. So I will refrain from showing slides, except for two actually. And I will just bring up a few ideas for further discussion during the panel afterwards. Having lived and having had the chance to live in the GCC area for 5 years and being involved for almost 20 years now professionally, first of all, I would like to say that we're not here to tell you how you have to do it. No way. We are here as partners and friends to learn from each other. And what I'm going to do now is just highlight a few elements of one of the reasons why we believe that there is something that Switzerland can contribute to your success in the future. And in a humble way, I think we should discuss it, look at it, and you will then also tell us what makes sense for you and what cannot make sense for you, because each situation is different, and I have learned that while I lived in the GCC area. Well, it has been said by my friend Hisham, vocational training is definitely at the core of Switzerland's success. Switzerland is among the most competitive nations in the world. At the moment, some say it's number 1, others say it's number 2. It doesn't matter, it's just among the top 10. And I truly believe that vocational training is one of the keys to that position. Why is that so? I think that when you look at kids leaving school after 9 years, here in Switzerland, 70% of them will not go to university, but they will take up a vocational training, and then following after that, after 4 years, they might do something else at a technical university. There are different ways how to address that. And this is something that when we talk about demographics in the GCC area, I think we should all bear in mind. If 70% of a generation do not go to universities, then we should focus on these 70% and what they can do to become part of the economy, to become part of a constructive society in the future. Obviously, there are many ways to design a vocational training and education system. Switzerland has chosen a path that not many have adopted so far. Switzerland has chosen a path that integrates national level politics, provincial and state governments, as well as professional trade associations and companies. And at the core of this system lies a very strong integration between the needs of the market, of business, and the capabilities that government through educational institutes can provide. So there is a very, very close link. It's a public-private partnership in essence that works hand in hand and that has the goal of not only transferring or giving over skills from one generation to the next, handing it over, but also to adapt according to the changes in the marketplace. So having business involved as a 100% partner on the same level, we can also adapt to the changing environment. What does the market need? Do we need more of this type of engineering? Do we need more of this type of skilled labor? Maybe that changes over time as well. So it is not that, if I may say so, governments, come after 10 years to the conclusion that, oh, we should maybe have a little bit more of skilled labor in this particular field, but the feedback is one-to-one into the system as such. So it's a living, a learning system that integrates day-to-day opportunities and needs from the market into the system, into the learning system. It is very important that training is not confined to an institution, a location that is outside of the real world, but that is fully integrated into the real world. So an apprentice in Switzerland from the very first day is being exposed to the real world environment. So he's part of a company, and he will be seen as part of that company. And he will start learning not just through what he is taught, but also what he sees, what he feels. So there's a lot more intake from his environment. It is extremely important, and I think that has been mentioned before also when we talk about university level education. Funding is extremely important. This is the future. This is everything that we're here for. We all have children. We all want them to have a better life than we have. So we should put that as our first priority. Having said this, there is a danger that if there is just a one-way funding from the government, again, that these funds will not be used in an effective way or enough effective way. When we look at the system here in Switzerland, there is a balance between 45 to 50% government funding, public funding, and 50% private funding. And that is extremely important. And you will say, hey, why should companies invest so much? This is government's job. We don't have to do that. We provide the jobs, we provide, GDP in the end, so government should take this over. I believe that it is important that the private sector is involved in this system. It is important because the private sector will then also pay attention to what is being taught and how it is taught and how it is done. And it will bring itself into this system of readapting to the needs of the market. And hence, the question is, of course, also on the table, well, is that money that the companies have to spend on top of taxes and all sorts of other things? No, studies have shown, and there is a very interesting OECD study from 2009 about Switzerland's vocational training system. The companies benefit. They benefit a lot. They invest. When you look at the 4 years apprenticeship of a person, the 2 first years, it's cash out. Third year, it's more or less even. 4th year, the company will benefit because at that stage, the apprentice is mature. The apprentice can work like a normal skilled worker, but his salary, of course, is much lower, and there is a lot of additional incentive for him to do more because he might want to stay in that company. So he will be one of the, strongest workers because he's young, he's enthusiastic, he's grateful to the company, and he will do as much as possible to help that company. So in the end, and that's, I'm not giving you figures here, but that's the outcome of that study of OECD, it's very clear that the companies who invest, who spend 50% to that program, in the end, actually benefit. They get something out into their own pockets. And think of that. Isn't that a win-win situation? You invest a little bit, you get wonderful, skilled, young laborers, and in the end as well something in your pocket. If that is not a good thing, then I don't know what could be a good thing. So I think that is really at the core of the system. Another element, if I might, just 2 minutes, okay, I'll be very short. It is extremely important that government, and there comes the importance of the role of the government into play, that the government defines the level and the quality of the exams that have to be taken. There needs to be a very, how shall I say, highly regarded system of controls, checks, and in the end also certification, so that whoever goes through that program has something in hand afterwards. That person can say, I am officially certified by the government to do this and this job. It is extremely important that this is not regarded as something low, as something, well, yes, it's technical, whatever, training. Yeah, we give you a little diploma here. No, it has to be something that needs, the people's attention and their effort to get it. And once that is reached, the government needs to have these systems of controls and checks in place that the level remains the same over years. So there's a very important role of government. When I said, the government should not maybe be too much involved, don't get me wrong, there is a very important role for government, but at the same time, it's also very important that the private sector plays the central role. A last word, and I know we're running out of time. I sometimes had the impression, but forgive me if I'm wrong, that practical work is not too highly regarded in the GCC countries. I think if a person who goes through a vocational training and gets a diploma after 4 years, which has a level, which is regarded as something good and high standing, and then can go further into either another technical specialization, or even enter after a certain 1 year or 2 years of additional training, could enter into university, a technical university. If that system becomes open, then the pathways that you choose do not have to be either academia success, so to speak, and vocational training failure. But it can be, I'd love to do this, I'd love to go into the system, I'd love to learn, I'd love to be more technically oriented, and then maybe later on I can still become an engineer and I can still become a doctor or whatever. And if you open the system in that way, I think it will become more attractive, and people who take the vocational path will not be regarded as losers but as winners, because they are the majority. And if you want to, when we look at the demographics, it's mind-boggling. I mean, how to find jobs for all these people. We cannot take them all to university. They need to have technical skills. Therefore, my humble message here, vocational training is the next big thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian.